This will be the reading for the sign of Aquarius for the month of September 2026. The deck that I'm using is the Rider-Waite deck by Pamela Coleman-Smith and Arthur Waite. And what I've done is I have pulled 3 sets of cards for each consecutive week within the month of September 2026. I also pulled an overall energy card, and this energy card will affect every single thing that you are doing within each of those weeks. So this makes it a very long read. Put your feet up, grab the cat, the dog, a coffee, a cookie, whatever it may be that helps you relax, and let's have a listen. So the first card you have is the energy card, and the energy card is the justice card, and it's straight up. So that's pretty good. It talks about making lifestyle adjustments. You're finding the right balance between your needs and the needs of other people. It also talks about work and social life, recreation, and an elimination of outworn forms of education. So you might be, maybe you're going to be taking an online program. Maybe you're going to ditch the school program where you have to go at a distance to go to school, and you're going to vie to take your program online. And that's what it's talking about. Now, let's talk about you wanting to divide something fairly and equitably, okay? Now, that could be punishments, that could be awards, that could be money, that could be praise, it could be accolades of some sort. Now, it does talk about honesty and integrity. So you're going to have a very balanced view, an outlook on things. So, really clear your mind and make things fair for all those people involved. Now, it also talks about possibly a legality, maybe going to court. Maybe you're going to turn to a court of justice in order to gain some equality in a situation you're involved in. It could be a broken relationship. It could be a marriage that has dissolved, okay? And so you're wanting to divide things fairly. Now, it does talk about you having to pull away from a situation personally in order to make a proper judgment and a fair judgment. And you're going to be dealing with this in each single week of the month. Every week of the month of September, you're going to have to deal with some type of fairness or justice or equality, okay, in some regard, whether it's legalities or whether it's simply in your relationships, in your environment, maybe even in your marriage, okay? So we're going to start off the first couple of days, that first week. You have the 8 of Cups, and it's reversed. Now, Aquarius, here we go, okay? Here we go. You are going through some issues, legality, and you're going to win whatever legality you're going through. But as you're moving into the first couple of days of that first week, you have the 8 of Cups reversed. And that talks about you've thrown up your hands. You said, I'm done. I don't care about money. I don't care about luxury. I don't care about a swimming pool. I don't care about a fancy car, okay? You're walking away from this situation because you're bored with it. You've lost interest in it. You've lost interest in a situation, in a relationship, an environment, maybe even a job. Maybe this has happened many times in your life. You have a tendency to kind of be flighty and become bored very quickly with your activities or daily life activities. I mean, maybe you're in midlife crisis, okay? And that's what it's talking about. There are going to be tensions building in your home environment, possibly because of combined families. I mean, maybe you have a sibling that is crashing on your couch, or maybe your spouse has a sibling that's crashing on your couch. You might be taking care of an elderly parent, okay? So it does talk about sharing accommodations. It's becoming stressful. You're done with it. You've had enough. You've helped out as much as you can, and now it's time to focus on yourself and your loved ones, your family, okay? Now, it does say that you're becoming very detached from the relationships in your life because of the stress. And so you're wanting to break the mold. You're wanting to take off and go on vacation, and not with a group of people, by yourself, okay? In a secluded environment. Maybe you're thinking of going camping. You just don't want to deal with everybody else's crap. You're done. You are so done. And it might even be a period of time when you're needing to recover from the stress or an illness in your life. Because the very next card you have in the middle couple of days of that first week is the 4 of Swords, straight up. He talks about you having to take care of your health. Stress is wearing down your health. So stay active. And you're having concerns about your living situation, okay? And as I said, there's going to be tensions with family members. You have to learn how to say no. You've done your part. You've done enough. Now you need to put up some personal boundaries. But it also talks about you opening up to other people. And it says there will be a violation of your social, physical, or even emotional space. Now, if there's an injury, a physical injury, it will heal. It will heal. But it takes a lot longer for an emotional injury to heal, okay? So it does talk about a solution to an illness or other problems in your life, okay? You are going to come up with that solution. Problems in your life are going to end because you are going to be creative in your way of managing them, okay? Maybe you just need some time alone. Maybe you just need to focus on yourself and your family instead of, focusing on the neighbor's kids and the people down the street and the postman and the dog, the cat, and the goldfish, right? So it's time to focus on you and your family and your issues and possibly your health. Stop worrying about everybody else because you know what? You could be worrying until the day you pass. Okay, so the last couple of days that first week, 6 of Swords reversed. So, there's solutions to all these dilemmas, all these relationship issues and the boundaries that are being crossed. There's solutions, but you're not seeing them. They're not obvious to you or to even the people that are involved. You have different ideas and different beliefs, okay? Now, you're trying to get along with people. You're trying to go along with things that you don't agree with. Maybe you have a sibling or a child that is an adult child, and they're crashing on your couch, and they're kind of like making a mess and demanding things and, making you feel guilty about not spending time with them. And you're kind of thinking, damn, I raised you. I'm done. Go off and live your life, right? But you're not doing that because you want to help them out in some way. And you have this fierce loyalty in you, Aquarius, fierce loyalty. Now, it does say that possibly you're not learning from past mistakes. You might be returning to a past situation or relationship that you were in before that didn't work out, okay? And you're returning too quick to the same old, same old. There's going to be more intensity. There might even be a radical dislocation where you're forced to go somewhere. You're forced to move. You're forced to change your location, okay? And it's going to cause you problems. It's going to cause you issues. So I wouldn't be jumping the gun too fast to get back into an old relationship, an old marriage, an old partnership, an old job, okay? Take your time. Make a decision based on facts, not emotions. And sure as hell, don't make a decision based on guilt. Okay, so it does talk about stress, conflict, mental anguish, and you're being influenced by other people, other people's mental problems, not your problems. Someone's having a period of depression or going through a breakdown or anxiety or maybe even PTSD, and you're carrying that blame yourself, right? Help them get the help that they need, but don't take over their problems. You can point them in the right direction. What's the old saying? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't force him to drink. Okay, so we are now moving into the second week. Opportunities abound, and you're looking further afield because you have the 2 wands. You're deciding between 2 choices, 2 invitations, projects, colleges, jobs, residences, even ways of living. You desire to go with whatever is more familiar. It makes you feel more comfortable. And so you're vying to go with the easy route. So it does talk about possibly taking some programs, maybe a course of study, maybe even working part-time and going to school part-time. It does talk about 2 jobs, 2 relationships, 2 things that you're having to divide your time between, maybe even 2 families, 2 friends, 2 children. I hope it isn't 2 lovers, okay? I mean, cheating on one is that's not a good thing. That's not a good picture for my Aquarius. But it does say that you're going to have to modify your plans in order to help out either a spouse or a partner, whether it be at work or in a romantic relationship, okay? It could even be a sibling. You might have to modify your plans in order to help out a sibling who is struggling, and that may be who's sleeping on your couch. Maybe a child of yours is dealing with a loss of employment, a wave of layoffs, and you're helping them out in some way, but you're having to modify your life plans to help them. And it very well might be an adult child. Now, it does say that each partner of a relationship is being pulled in a different direction, okay? They're being pulled in a different direction, and, it's creating some chaos in your environment. Yeah. Now, what you have to realize is that each part of a partnership or a marriage, okay, everybody has a part to play. One person cannot take on the responsibility of the whole relationship and everything that circles around that relationship, whether it be a romantic or whether it be a family relationship, a sibling, a child, okay, a grandchild. But it does talk about cooperation, having to treat everyone equally, okay? You may have to go find some influential people, some authorities, okay, and seek some feedback from them or some help. Yeah, you have good ideas. You have good ideas, and you might just need a little bit of a hand up. Maybe you need a recommendation to start a new project or to begin a job or to receive, some type of accolades from your experience, okay? Maybe you have experience. I mean, an example would be if you had experience in a construction field and someone is vying to find someone to build them a home, and you put your name in for the job, but you don't have specific qualifications, but you do have the experience. So that's what I'm saying. Someone is going to recommend you for a job. So it does talk about rewarding interactions, and it does talk about the fact that you are looking further afield to glean some type of financial prowess, to gain some type of possibly work experience, or maybe even you're vying to go back to school to take a program. Okay, so we're in the middle 2 days of the second week, and you have a celebration between friends, okay? Friendships, good times, joy. 3 of Cups straight up. Talks about social events, parties, even a recreational outing or festivities. Something to celebrate. It might even be going to a wedding or a victory. Maybe you've joined a sports team and you won the season, right? But it does talk about receiving pleasurable communications, acknowledgement of your positive attributes, compliments, recognition, congratulations, or even invitations. You're making connections in your environment or in your community, and this period of loneliness you were going through, and that false sense of identity where you felt like you weren't good enough, okay? That's ending. Yeah, that's ending. You're making connections in your environment or even in your community. You're bonding with people. You're getting involved in activities and in groups. You're having a relationship with true friends and true companions, people that want to be in your circle of energy, people that you don't have to beg to be there. They're wanting to be included in your life, okay? That could even be family members. It does talk about a close-knit family, okay? So it talks about a zest for life. And it does say that you're going to meet someone, Aquarius, either at a celebration or maybe even at a party, a wedding, okay? And a close friendship is going to develop, or maybe even more. Maybe it's going to climb to the heights of, that sexual attraction is going to be very strong. Now, I'm seeing a water sign. I'm seeing a water sign individual. It does talk about it being a woman, okay? So if you're a man, you might meet a woman at a celebration. But if you're a man or if you're a woman, maybe you'll meet a woman, or maybe you'll meet a friend or a mentor, okay? But it is a female. Now, it could be, it could be a romantic partner, but it could also be, it could stand for your own maternal aspect in your life, your mom, your grandmother, your sisters, your aunt, okay? Someone in your life of the authority figure, someone who would be a little bit older and wiser and more experienced in life and relationships than yourself. Now, this individual, although they're loving and kind and caring, they're very emotional, okay? They cry at a drop of a hat. They cry at sad movies. They cry at a hockey game. You know what I mean? But perhaps you have a dysfunctional relationship with a female in your life, okay? And there might be a period of time where possibly a female in your life, a family member, it could be a sibling, it could be a mother, it could be an aunt, it could even be a female child. But I'm seeing it point to an older female. And there might be some role reversal taking place where you're becoming the caretaker for someone in your life, okay? Now, it also talks about a pregnancy. So if this is pointing to you, be careful. If you don't want to have a child, and you're able to have a child, you're of childbearing age, and the possibility is there, and you don't want one, then make sure you have the proper contraceptives, okay? You're not emotionally prepared at this time for anything new, especially bringing a new life into being, okay? You're confused, you're undecided, and you're not wanting to show these emotions because you feel that emotions make you look weak. And it does say that perhaps a maternal aspect in your life was a very strong influence on you, or they were a strong female entity, and so you're kind of like styling yourself after them, and you don't want anyone to think that you're weaker than that, okay? And it could be you're trying to show a maternal aspect in your life that you got it going on, that you're not a weakling, that you can handle these things, okay? So now we are third week, first couple of days of third week. You have Nine of Cups reversed. So that means that, you might not get your wish. And if you do get it, it might take a little bit longer than you were hoping for, okay? Now, the Nine of Cups reversed talks about too much of a good thing, overindulgence, selfishness, lack of appreciation, getting involved in too many outside activities, eating too much, drinking too much, smoking too much sexual activity, not sleeping enough, okay? So it does talk about you having to be very creative to get the right energies and motion in your life. And you might be content with a more introverted lifestyle with just a few friends and compatriots, okay? But it's pointing toward the fact that you've been wishing or praying for something. And you might be a little bit disappointed, okay? Because you might get your wish, but it's not going to happen as soon as you want it to. It's further down the road. It might be on its way, but it might not, right? So you're still wishing and hoping and praying to the good Lord above, or whoever your divine is, and you feel like your prayers are not going to be answered. And they might not at this time. The good Lord will send things your way when they're needed to be there. When you need them, they will be there. Okay, so middle 2 days of that third week, you have the Five of Cups reversed. So you're being a little bit impulsive. Yep, you're being a little bit impulsive. You felt like you didn't get your wish, and so you have to do something, and you have to do it quick, right? No, wrong. But it does talk about the fact that you're kind of jumping the gun, right? You're trying really hard to keep those actions under control. Yeah, and I hope you're listening to this early and that you can pull that off, okay? Because it does say that you might pursue new pleasures that are going to leave you disappointed. Yeah. Maybe you've decided to cross that line and cheat on your partner, and you're going to find out that that wasn't such a good thing to do. Yeah. Maybe you're going to cheat on your diet, and then you're going to find out, ooh, that scale went up. That's not a good thing to do, right? Maybe you're going to decide to overindulge one night to forget your problems. You're going to overindulge in alcohol, drugs, whatever it may be, okay? You wake up in the morning, you've got a headache, and it's the same as the night before. It doesn't change anything. It just magnifies it. Now, it does say that you're able to make sense of change and crisis in your life, okay? And it does say that there is a return of an old friend, and it might be an old buddy, but it could also be an old partner, an old romantic partner. Now, it does say that you're wanting to return to a more secure situation. Perhaps, as I said, you left a job, you quit a job, or your family member quit a job, and you went to bat for them, and it kind of took its toll on you emotionally and financially and socially. And so you're kind of thinking, damn, I want things the way they used to be. I want a little bit more quiet. Or maybe you had retired, and maybe you're thinking, damn, I don't want to be at home. I don't want to be at home all those long days. I want to get a part-time job. And so that's what you're dealing with at this point in time. You're looking for that security and that serenity and that stability. The 3 S's, yeah. Now, it also talks about possibly someone who is returning to your life or to your circle of energy because they want to try to rebuild a broken trust that they had with you. Maybe this is you. Maybe you left your partner, your romantic partner, and you decided you were going to run off with somebody else. And then all of a sudden you realize, damn, I think I made a mistake. And so you return and you try to fix what was broken, okay? So it does say that sometimes you can't fix things and other times you can, but you're the only one that knows, Aquarius, the only one that knows if fixing this relationship or this scenario, whatever it may be, a job, a relationship, a partnership, whatever it may be, you're the only one that knows if it truly is worth it. And I'm not even going to pretend to give you advice on that. Okay, so the last 2 days of the third week, legalities again. Damn it. What are you doing, Aquarius? Jeez. Now, you have the King of Swords straight up, so that's legalities. Legalities are going to be in your favor. You might have a lawyer, a mentor, a male that is an air sign that deals with the facts and only the facts, okay? And it's someone who's going to stand up for you. So it might be a lawyer. It is someone who is of the mindset where they want to make a change in the world, okay? Could be a lawyer, a judge, a legislator, someone in the military, could even be a bureaucrat, a political activist, okay? A school, or even a family counselor. Maybe you're having problems with that child that's laying on your couch. They don't want to go to school. Maybe they're in high school. They don't want to go to school. They're fighting, and you know, it could even be a grandchild of yours, and you're having to deal with the problems that stem from their childhood or their upbringing, okay? Now, as I said, it's someone who wants to make a difference in the world, but it could also be a teacher, someone that you're dealing with to help you with a child of yours, okay? Now, it's also someone who deals with the laws of nature. And in some aspect, laws are going to be changed in a school system in some way, you know? And it talks about you having to be willing to make sacrifices for children, you know, as in a parental aspect, as, I mean, in an authority figure. So as a male role model, it's talking about male energies, okay, not female energies, male energies. So authority figure, someone who is a parental figure, a teacher, as I said, a judge, a legislator, a political activist, okay? Now, just talk about possibly if you were part of this parental identity, okay, the father or the mother or whatever, the authority figure for a child, okay? Maybe you didn't put the effort in. Maybe you were married and maybe you were an authority figure to this child, and you know, you might be part of the problem, and you have to accept your responsibility and your part in that. So maybe you are getting involved in family counseling with a child of yours, okay? Or maybe even a spouse of yours. Maybe you and a spouse are going to couples counseling or family counseling. Now, if you were the type of parental figure, or maybe you had this happen to you, Aquarius, where everything you did, everybody viewed as foolish or childish or, you know, immature, right? So nobody really viewed the things you were doing as forthright and mature and necessary, okay? And so maybe the choices were viewed as foolish and childish, and it took its toll on your confidence. But you might have done that to a child of yours, where you kind of like laughed off everything that they were deciding to do with their life. Maybe someone said, I want to join the military, or I want to be a doctor, I want to be a dentist, and you went, oh, yeah, sure you do, right? Don't do that. And that might be what you're having to deal with in family counseling. Now, maybe you were the type of parent that preferred to have a relationship with your children when they were adults. Yeah, and it does talk about power struggles in a parental figure, okay? Possibly between yourself and your parents as you were growing up, or maybe you have that same issue with your children, a power struggle. You do things my way, or you don't do them at all. Yeah. So, all right, so we're in that last week. Well, I don't like this card, but it doesn't always mean the face value. So it is a death card, and it's straight up. And so that talks about dramatic change or transformation. And it could even be something very profoundly frightening, or an experience that brings about change in your life. You're reviewing your life. You're witnessing possibly, someone else passing or a car accident or someone dying, crossing over. And so you're reviewing your life and saying, damn, that could have been me. I need to fix the problems in my life. Okay. Reviewing your mortality. Okay. And thinking about how you can stalemate or stall those issues happening to you. I mean, maybe someone died from smoking, a heavy smoker, and you're a smoker. And maybe you're thinking, damn, okay, cigarette's going away, and you flick it away, right? So it does talk about looking at your life through a new lens, but it also talks about a profound, frightening experience. A close call or a traumatic event that happens to yourself or to someone you care about, or possibly to someone you don't even know, and you witness it. You could witness a car accident, right? And someone dies, or, a fire and someone dies in that fire. And you're thinking, damn, did I check the fire alarm? Do I have batteries in my fire alarm? That type of thing. So you're focusing on how to change your life, and you're changing it because of a feeling of sadness. Yeah. And awareness. So something is coming to an end, whether it be, a traumatic event to someone else, or whether it be the ending to a job. Maybe it's time for retirement. Maybe you can't get another job. Maybe it's not time to repurpose your life. Okay. Maybe it's time to slow down. Might be the end of a relationship, a project, a program of study. You have to let go of the old to bring in the new. Yeah. So we're moving into the middle 2 days of that last week, and you have the Eight of Wands. Eight of Wands straight up, yeah. So you're joining with other people to create efficiency, okay? Organizing actions and ideas, activities, plans. People are going to bring about social changes for some reason. Now, you had witnessed a traumatic event, and maybe you're going to protest. Maybe it was something that happened, speeding or road rage, and I can't think of anything that would be that traumatic except for an accident, right? And maybe you are going to join forces with other people to change the law in some way, okay? To make people, have a bigger fine for distracted driving, or, to lessen the speed limit so that people aren't hit or killed when they're driving or crossing the road, okay? That there isn't injuries that were caused by some type of indiscretion. Drunk driving, driving under the influence, that type of thing, okay? So joining with other people to end something, to end a bad habit and bring good habits into focus, whether it be for yourself or whether it be for the people around you and society at large. Now, just talk about plans being put into action. So whatever it is that you're moving forward on, it will be with a fire sign female, younger than yourself, and it is someone who is vying for social change, social activism. And it could very well be a child of yours, a partner of yours, a sibling of yours, okay? Now, just talk about you being in a position of strength in this activity. Yeah. So your plans are going to be completed very quickly, okay? It also talks about going on a trip by air, maybe a plane, maybe you're going on vacation, maybe you're taking a plane to some exotic place, okay? But there is movement. It also talks about working to betterment with a fire sign to get something done. So, as I said, social activism. There is going to be cohesiveness in a group effort, and you will get what it is you're vying for. So if you're looking to the politicians to change a law or to lessen the speed limit so people aren't, speeding down the highway, okay, you're going to win. You're going to win. And it does talk about social trends. Success is almost here, and you will be successful in whatever it is that you're planning on doing in that last week. It is the ending to an old regime, an old type of energy, okay? Something old has to leave in order for something new to come in, and that could be laws, yeah. So the very last card you have is the homelessness card. It's a Five of Pentacles. That talks about a secure situation that changes or destabilizes. And that could be, a change in your home dynamics caused by stress. Could be a change in your material position, your situation, lost a job, maybe you've retired and the money isn't as free flowing as it used to be, and the bills are mounting, but the money's just staying the same. So it does talk about feeling a little bit financially needy, okay? Maybe you've been cut loose from a situation. Yeah. Maybe you were given, a part-time job doing something at your previous employment. They say, okay, well, you don't want to retire, you can work in the warehouse. And maybe they decide that, no, we don't need your help at this point. If we do, we'll call you in the future. So it's talking about you being cut loose. Yeah. Financially, there's a lot of issues taking place. And it also talks about moving house, perhaps moving into something cheaper. Or maybe you've left a relationship, a job, or a situation, a romantic partnership. And so you're moving into a new abode. It also talks about needy family members. And, they might be needing some financial help. And of course, Aquarius, what are you doing? You're gonna tide them over. You're gonna help them out. And helping someone else out is actually gonna create you some financial issues. So be aware of that. Before you put your hand in your pocket and extend that hand to someone else, okay? Make sure that you're taking care of number one first. So I know if it's your children, you wanna help them, but there has to be a limit, and there has to be a little bit of give and take, right? A little bit of respect both ways. So that's the end of your reading for the month of September. I shall see you in October, and know that good things are coming into your life. You have to let go of the old to welcome in the new. So I shall see you in October. Namaste, my friends. Bye-bye.